read this next portion called How Do Plants Make Food? Marissa, why don't you read first? So plants make food. They make their own food. You know how we have to buy food at the store so that we can eat? Well, plants are really special because they can make their food inside of them. Isn't that pretty cool?
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens is sunlight comes into the plant. Everybody show me sunlight comes into the plant. And the plant takes minerals from the ground. And it mixes it all together. Gets a little bit of water, mixes it all together, and it makes its own food. Does anybody know what the name of that food is? It's not in our book, but you can take a guess. Why don't you take a guess, Jennie?
Soil?
Not soil, that's what's in the bottom. Anybody have a guess, Isaiah?
Stems?
Not stems, that's what the long part of the plant is. It's actually a word called glucose. Can you say glucose?
Glucose.
That's kind of a tricky word. Let's try it again. Glucose.
Glucose.
Okay, and the plant makes it inside of itself, and it's like a sugar that it gets to eat. The plant gets to eat this sugar all day long. Isn't that pretty cool?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to eat sugar all day long.
Me too.
So it makes this glucose. It makes this glucose inside itself so it can eat the food. So it uses sunlight, and it uses minerals, and it uses water to make a glucose that it eats. So who can tell me what the food that a plant eats is called? Raise your hand and tell me. Kaylin? Glucose. Good job. Glucose. Okay, and now we're going to look at the diagram on the bottom of the page. Everybody look at the diagram on the bottom of the page. It's a diagram of how plants make food, okay? So over here, Owen, do you mind moving up a little bit? Just so Miss Reilly, oh, why don't you move up this way so Miss Reilly can step back there. Just move up this way. Right there, by Alvin. Okay, Miss Reilly drew this diagram up here of a plant, and it has the parts of a plant. Now, every part of a plant is important, okay? It has a purpose. So right here we have the leaves. See the leaves right here?
Yes.
You guys see leaves? The leaves are actually the part of the plant that take in the sunlight. Matthew, find a new seat. They take in the sunlight. They absorb the sunlight. So everybody say, leaves absorb the sunlight.
Leaves absorb the sunlight.
So the leaves absorb the sunlight, okay? And then this part right here is the stem. Do you see this long green line?
Yeah.
That is called the stem. And the stem, it holds up the plant tall, and it allows the water and the glucose to move through it. So what happens is, on the stem, the water and the glucose, they're constantly moving up and down and mixing around to make more glucose, to make more food for the plant. And then what happens, the plant uses the roots down here. Say the roots. Roots. And the roots hold the plant in the soil, okay? So they kind of anchor it down where it is. They hold the plant in the soil. And right down here in the soil, that's where the plant gets all of the minerals. Say minerals.
Minerals.
Minerals. And minerals was one of our vocab words. See in your book how it's highlighted right there? That means it's important and we need to pay special attention to it. So it says that minerals are bits and pieces of soil and rock, and they help the plants grow, okay? So the sunlight comes in through the leaves, and then the water and the glucose move around the stem, and the roots bring in the minerals, and they make food for the plant. That's pretty cool, huh? It's kind of like a machine. A plant is kind of like a machine. Okay, so let's move on to our next page, our final paragraph. Who would like to read our final paragraph for me? Raymond. Read my final paragraph.
When glucose gives off a gas of oxygen to the
So when plants make their glucose and they're making their food, they're also sending off oxygen. Okay? I want everybody to take a deep breath and let it out. You want to know what just went into your mouth when you did a deep breath? Jenna, do you know what went in your mouth? Air, yes, and another name for air is oxygen, okay? So oxygen went in your mouth, and that comes from the plants. When the plants are making their glucose, they let off oxygen. So plants not only make food for themselves, but they make oxygen for the animals and the animals and the humans to breathe so that we can live. Because we need air to live, don't we?
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. So they make oxygen and they make glucose. That's two things plants make. Who can tell me one thing that plants make? Who can tell me one thing plants make? Kaylin? They make food. Do you know what the name of that food is? Glucose. Okay, what's the other thing plants make? Stavri?
Oxygen.
Oxygen, okay? They make oxygen, they make glucose. Great job. Okay, that's the end of our reading. So what I want you to do is I want you to close your book and find your way back to your seat, okay? There's a whiteboard on your desk, but I don't want you to touch it. When you're ready to go, look up at Miss Reilly.